Hi, I'm David Kearn. I'm a painter and I'd like to welcome you to this video. I just thought I'd start a little bit of a still life painting in oil, and Gabriel's doing some expressive blooms in oil, so I just thought I'd see if I could sort of start that before Gabriel's finished her painting, because he paints quickly. So I've got a canvas here, and I've already got some color on it. It just happens to be a kind of grayish color because that was kind of what ended up on my palette last time I had some acrylic paint out. So it's acrylic base, but I'm actually going to be painting in oil, right? So that would be it. Would be really quite similar with acrylic. It's, you know, the big difference is it doesn't dry, so whatever I put on the canvas now is going to be wet all day, right? So if you're coming by, just try not to elbow it, right? And I'll try and do likewise. So I tend to paint with a very limited palette, and I've got some ultramarine blue. Oftentimes I'd use some burnt sienna with that, but right now I'm just going to start off with a bit of ultramarine blue, and actually I'm going to be painting primarily with the primary. So I've got some vermilion as well, nice red. I use various reds, but the vermilion is I've got lots of it, so I'm going to use some. And cadmium yellow here, right? So I'll put a bit of that out as well, because I know I'm going to need it. So I'm really just painting with primaries today. Sometimes I do that simply because I got nice big tubes of these, so I've got plenty of them, right? But actually, it's a good thing to do. It's a good way to paint, is to paint with primaries. So with watercolor, you've got to be a little bit more careful, because there's perhaps some things with transparency that. And you want to perhaps start with a tone that's a little bit closer to what your target is, but in some ways the same principle applies. So I have a very poor printout from my printer, which is dying on me. But I've actually got a version of this that I did in pastel a little while ago, and there it is. So that's so I thought I'd use that for colors, right? So I've got my black and white photocopy, and I've got a couple of ideas from doing a composition sketch, and really for colors I'll use my my pastel there. So to get started, what I will typically do is just take one of my brushes and some ultramarine blue. Perhaps I'll turn it a little bit purple with a bit of vermilion as well, and then I'll just make sure I've got the forms sort of organized on the page there, on the canvas. So I'm going to have my pot sort of over here somewhere, I think, and then got 4 red blue blooms, so I'll just put those in. Right, need a bit of linseed oil. My paints are very dry. I like my paints thick and dry, so I do paint with a bit of linseed oil. With acrylics, just straight out of the tube, they're going to work very well for you. So I don't use a lot of medium, at least at this stage. use medium for glazing and such like later, but these days I kind of work straight out of the tube when I can. So let's just dip this in a little bit of linseed oil so I can see where. Right, so I want this red balloon to be up here. Then I've got a couple of lighter ones in behind here, so I'm just going to go around those, whereas these guys I'm actually gonna just make sure I know where things are gonna go. And I've got my pots a little bit of just pull my pot back across here a little bit. Yeah, so that's not so bad. And then I will actually, following whatever my value sketch is, I'll just block in those things that I know are going to be dark. In this case, I think I'm going to change my value sketch because of the background, and just make sure I know where these guys are going to go. And I got my leaves. So actually, one thing I do consistently with still lifes is I make my leaves green, my green leaves blue. I just put my green on top of whatever blue leaves that I've created, because what I find is it makes them way more believable having a blue base.
A blue base for green?
Yes, because green is made from blue and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So why not start by blocking in? Because I'm going to be using, I consistently use blue for my kind of layouts. So if I'm going to have some blue out, I just build my leaves from green right at the from blue right at the outset. Right, so that's good. So I'm just putting these are going to be a bit darker as well. I don't mind the fact that they're going to be red too, right? So there you are. So maybe that is my little start. So I just want to make sure essentially where everything is. So I'm going to have some blooms in the background here. A little bit lighter. Maybe just to emphasize things, I'll just change my brush and just block in a little bit where I know there's going to be some lights as well, right? So I'm going to have some lights down here. This is going to be lighter. And likewise, these are going to be lighter in the background here as well. Right? Not putting much paint on here because I can put thicker paint on top, but I just want to remind myself that they're going to be lighter, and the same for these up at the top here. Right, so that's typically how I would start a a kind of still life. So really what I want to do is to just understand where my blooms are. So a little bit of confusion going on here, but 1, 2, 3, 4 blooms here. Some up there, that's one out here. So now I know where things are going to go. And I've got my pot positioned, and I'm reasonably happy with the kind of layout. I'm going to have in this case I'm going to have a shadow down here as well. So there'll be a shadow kind of to connect things to the world. Right. So that's might be how I would start. A little bit of a still life. So now the fun starts, because the fun starts with actually sort of forming the individual leaves, or sorry, I should say the individual blooms. So I'll take another, so right now I've got a light brush, it's kind of bluish, and I've got a blue brush, but now I'm taking a brush which is going to be more, there's going to be more red and purple. Right, maybe I'll use a little bit of just a little bit of medium, which is linseed oil, but predominantly paint. And I'll look at forming each of the blooms without too many brush strokes going on. Already need a bit more paint. The mantra of the painter, more paint, more paint. You rarely go wrong by having more paint on your brush. So, at least in my world. So now I'm just forming this flower with scoops of my brush. A little bit of blue going into this as well, but the vermilion and ultramarine blue are working together not too badly, like that. And there you go. So I've got the paint placed essentially where I want it. One kind of mistake here I'll just clean up, get rid of. And I'll be able to move on to kind of develop these in a little in a few minutes time.
The blues?
Right now, right?
I'm sorry, I was going to say the blues are bringing the gray, the blues out of the gray.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
finding that
Yeah,
it
no,
suddenly
it's
has a bit of
yeah.
a bluish tone to it.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Before it, when you just saw it there, it just looked like grey, but it's actually a blue-grey, and
Yes.
and that shows, right?
Yeah, it's
Right,
making
and
the grey more
yeah.
exciting.
Now, I may change that grey, but there'll still be some of it left in the final iteration, I think.
How is Louise?
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Is she in Canada right now?
Je pense que c'est très bien.
I think that's probably all I would do for blocking.
Yeah,
But I've still got blue leaves, don't I? So I've got to do something about that.
and these are gonna be daffodils.
Oh, but they're so
And then
distinctive.
there'd be a bit of a bare tree.
You like the blue leaves?
I like the
It's a
blue
shame
leaves.
to turn them green. So
It's
far,
just
I've just
like I
used
was hanging on
my cadmium yellow, vermilion, and ultramarine blue, and some white, titanium white.
No,
I'm
that's.
gonna add a little bit of cerulean blue as well.
C'est très beau.
So two blues, always seem to end up using these two blues.
Yeah.
I like them so much because they're so different, right? You've got the ultramarine, which is
And then using
sort of dark and intense and a little bit purpley, and then cerulean.
It's
kinda
lighter.
light and a little bit green.
Yeah.
It takes,
So
you end up erasing,
Yeah.
unless you want to erase, literally erase them.
they're not the only two blues I could use, of course, but I just find that they work together because you, on one hand, because they're so different, right? If I'm
Yeah.
gonna use two tubes, I want to have two that are quite different.
I was still drawing at lunchtime. Come on, you gotta start.
Once again, I'm trying to make the
Ah.
brush do most of the work, right? So
And there's
So,
gonna be a couple of chairs.
the general
maybe
plan
on the
is
table.
one brush stroke, one or two brush strokes equals one leaf, right?
That's how it works out. Yeah.
And I'll just use that just to
Don't mind. I
To
won't
brighten
find this
up.
now, and I'll just to remember that.
part of the leaf forms as well. just
Regarde
make
le blanc.
Yeah, that's, I'm happy enough with that. Yeah. Only a leaf or two here, I think, next to this red as well. Gold or something.
No, pas gold.
Still left quite a lot of blue there, and I'm happy enough that some of the dark areas should stay blue. And in fact, I'm going to actually take a littler brush and just going to go and make sure there's some dark
Oui, oh.
in there. It hasn't gone a little lighter than I want.
Which red is that? Ah, oui, c'est vrai.
The red, I'm using vermilion,
Ah, okay.
which is a pretty neutral red. If I was doing this and I had a little bit more of a purpley red, like the iridescent, I probably would use it. But
So
I've left home without that today, so
Don't
So
leave
it's-
home without.
it's gonna be. No, I won't leave home without ultramarine blue. But I do leave home without alizarin crimson sometimes.
Oh.
The thing is, it changes what I end up doing. The thing is that there's nothing that you don't want to have too many colors on your painting anyway. So it just means that this painting will have a certain feel that won't include include too many purples.
Juste un peu plus, mais c'est pas grave.
It's,
Ça va quand même, oui. Oh, ça va être intéressant. Moi, je
so I
trouve.
feel at this stage I should put the pot in a little bit. I think
Je
the pot
pense que oui.
looks a little sketchy, and this is
Maintenant,
probably a good time for me to use my cerulean.
The vermilion red would then be more of a blue base red.
Well, this vermilion is pretty neutral actually,
Oh, okay.
right? And it, but when mixed with the ultramarine, it's not turning very purple.
Okay.
So that tells me that it's from a chromatic point of view, it's definitely not got it's not got much blue in it, or if any blue. So if anything, it's probably a little bit on the warm side for what I'm doing here.
Okay. So would it yield a decent orange with yellow, or?
It probably, I mean, most reds will get a decent orange, but if you, I mean, oftentimes you want like a bit of a dusky orange, and certainly you could use even alizarin crimson to get a good
Oh.
dusky orange, right?
Wow.
The real problem is with purples. Purples, you have to have very clean colors in order to mix a purple up, but you get all manner of oranges, all manner of greens from what might not be the perfect mix.
Okay.
That's, so that's. Moving along, so
Oh, c'est très joli.
I think next off, I should make sure my background is working well. I'm not sure I like that background that I've got, so I'm going to mix up something that I can put on and kind of put all over and kind of change the tone of the background a little bit.
Well, I thought the lighter color in the vase kind of has an effect on the background now too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
it's
Everything's relative, right?
Yeah.
So you start one way and you end up with something a little different.
That, yeah, you can see it,
It's
yeah,
really
look at
on.
the chimney.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It looks
So some of my grey is still poking through there, as you can see, right? Which is working quite fine, I think. Right? So I'm not going to put more of the background in there. That's got something going on. And what I typically do is sort of later on, I'll go and kind of add a little bit of detail. I say detail, I'll go and fill in where I've had to keep my brush separate, because otherwise it's gonna get very muddy with pulling paint from the foreground into the background. In fact, I've done that there, but I'll be able to go back in and do that quite handily a little bit later. Right now, I just want to make sure that I've kind of created more of the feel that I might want for the painting. And now I'm just going to do a little bit more work on the vase itself, which I think is just a little bit bright. So I'm going to take a little bit of a duller blue mix, and I think I said that I was going to have shadows coming out this way. So that would say just make this side a little bit look like it's got some shadow to it. I'm just mixing, I've got a kind of dirty brush and a bit of ultramarine on it to kind of just create that effect, and then I'm going to drag that dark into to create the idea that there's some shadow in there. Maybe something like that.
still can't see the rest of the kitchen.
Oh, that's great.
It is fun.
So I'm definitely going to leave it just right there. And I did make quite a few little changes in the last session, adding in the orange to one set of flowers, and actually I then dragged that orange into the leaves as well.
Wow.
Right, so there's orange down here, right? And then I added some pinks into these white flowers and just reinforced them a little bit, which I think worked. Changed the pot. I didn't really like the way the pot was working, so I made it a little bit more organic, a little bit more like the version that I'd done before. And then I just reinforced this set of flowers as well with some pretty thick paint. And one thing that I found worked, I wouldn't say outlined them in blue, but I've just put some blue, dark blue right next to the light yellow, which just kind of sort of makes them
Brings
look like
out-
they're just moving. It brings them out and makes it like they're just moving a bit, right? So I'd probably find a lot of other things to do. But right now, it's really wet. Lots of thick paint on it. It's going to go backwards if I do anything more to it. So I'm definitely going to leave it there just about now.